Amateur Hour. Jeez, podcast. Amateur Hour. Jeez, podcast. Amateur Hour podcast on KC Sports Network. Amateur on KC Sports Network. Hour on KC Sports Network. Podcast on KC Sports Net. We're gonna talk Chiefs football for you, and you, and you, and you.
What is this, amateur hour?
Yeah, I ain't no Superman businessman like you. You know, I'm just an
amateur,
I suppose.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Yeah, that's right, folks. The show is called Amateur Hour. It's the season finale. I'm Ryan Scott Hall, and joining me today... It's the second time this year I completely forgot to write a joke for this. It's his Dirkness.
Wow. What's up? Nailed it on the season finale. Nailed it.
Was thinking about so many other matters, and you know, I've just been really preoccupied with this wonderful snowstorm that has just blanketed Kansas City with just a few inches. Just a few inches.
It's really coming down out here too.
Yeah. Okay.
Really coming down.
Well, I guess speaking of a few inches, Dirk.
Hey.
What's your big thing?
Yes. Dirk's big thing. All right. Today, folks, for my big... What the hell? What the hell is this?
Am I in the right place?
Today, my big thing is one, Mr. Kent Swanson, the biggest thing of all, the biggest thing of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I am proud to share it with the audience today. Kent, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming on.
I am beyond elated to be here. I don't really know the last time I did this show with you guys, but I was thinking about this. I'm gonna a little trivia here, actually. Do you remember what you guys called me the first time I came on your podcast to talk? It was to talk draft, by the way. First time I came on your podcast. Do you remember what you called me?
Had to be compensatory Kent.
Ooh, it was not. That's a good one. That's a deep cut too, though.
I feel like you were calling him like Kentavious or Kentarvius, or is that something in there? Do I have that? No?
This is stuck with me forever, and I think I've told you this. I was like nervous and excited to come on because you guys are like the first podcast I ever listened to. But you called me because I still am a giant draft dork.
Ooh.
And so you called me trusted dork Kent Swanson.
There he is.
Could not have been more elated to be
What a
trusted
title.
dork. Yeah.
What a title. Are you still using that? Or
it's on the business cards.
Trusted. Yeah.
It's on the business cards in first line of the resume.
Absolutely. Well, Kent, we brought you on because we need to learn about the draft, man. Gonna be, I think, the main topic of conversation for a lot of Chiefs fans over the next few months. I mean, obviously, we have other things that are going to happen in this offseason, but Chiefs fans are going to be diving into and wanting to know about the draft in a way that they haven't for a really long time because we're picking in the top 10. And so we thought that maybe it would be appropriate for our fellow amateurs out there to maybe put together like an amateur's guide to pick number 9. I do feel like it's a pretty unique draft class and a pretty unique opportunity for the Chiefs. So we need somebody to teach us about these guys.
Are you guys going to be stalking the KC scouting staff in Mobile, Alabama this year?
I mean,
already got my ticket booked.
The other way.
Already got it booked. I'm sitting right next to John Dorsey once again.
You guys might have more insight than I do if you guys go down there at this point. But yeah, man, dude, I'm always happy to talk draft. I'm even more happy to be talking draft with you guys. So yeah, whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm happy to.
Well, you just got back from the Shrine, and I'm sure that you guys are going to be working on, trying to get your interviews cut up, and going over your notes and stuff from there. So let's just try to make this easy. It doesn't have to be anything new or fresh, but I think we should probably start there. I think everybody's going to say the draft starts at 2. Mendoza to the Raiders feels like a foregone conclusion at this point. And so I'm curious, if the Chiefs were picking at 2, who's their guy? Like, if they can have anybody in this draft class not named Mendoza, who's the guy that you think is at the top of that list for Kansas City?
It is a fantastic question. I would like to think that they would go with Ruben Bain, the defensive end out of Miami. I think I love him as a player, and I think there's only one other player that's truly in contention if I'm just given the second pick in the draft and I'm the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's Bain though, because he doesn't I know the arm length thing is going to be a thing for everyone, and there's going to be a lot of discourse, and some of the Dane Brugler, who's the best doing this, is talking about how teams see him as an inside guy. Some teams see him as an inside guy. But man, when I watch him play, he plays exactly like Steve Spagnuolo likes. He's this dense, physical defensive end that has legitimate juice and power, that he can run through a tackle, but then he can run around a tackle. And they just don't have a guy that can do it. And there's not a ton of guys in this draft that are as good as he is. So in a weird draft where I think there's 10 names that I wouldn't be stunned to see the Chiefs take and I'd be happy with. I think the player I'd be most thrilled with, just by a smidge, is Ruben Bain.
And with him, I think the guy that's kind of getting comparisons to him, I guess I would say, is David Bailey from Texas Tech. How would you compare him to David Bailey, and why would you go him over Bailey?
So I think David Bailey and Ruben Bain are very different players. And with Bain, I think Bain can play any down you want. I think he can play inside. He can play outside. He can do, I think, anything along the defensive line that you want. Because Bain, I do think, can play along the interior as well. I think but you can trust him on any down. Bailey has an incredible first step, very good first step. A little bit on the lighter side than what the Chiefs typically prefer, and not as consistent, not remotely as consistent as a run defender. There's a few splash plays he might make as a run in the run game, but truly holding point and having to sit there and set an edge, that's not in his repertoire. That's not really his biggest strength. There's plenty of production as a pass rusher. His best first step in the class, and some quick wins off the edge, and he really does threaten that arc the way that no one else in the class does, I think. But I think if you're looking at the whole body of work and what the Chiefs would prefer, I think they'd probably go Bain over Bailey.
Where does Faulk come in on that? Because I feel like in terms of the measurements, he's the guy they would choose. He's probably going to check every box, where Bain and Bailey may miss 1 or 2 or 3 of those thresholds that the Chiefs like to use. Mm-hmm. Faulk looks like a prototype. Why wouldn't he be the first guy?
So I love Kellrick Faulk. And I think there's even been moments where I think Kellrick Faulk's has been my favorite player of all these guys. I think I'm going to be a little bit more reserved on my Faulk takes until after the NFL Combine, where we see how he tests, because I think that's a true indication of how big of a ceiling he has. Because Faulk, you're right, he has the ideal length frame to be what the Chiefs prefer, and it's what most teams really prefer, honestly. I know we can say Spags has a type and all that stuff. Spags doesn't have a big stiff type. Maddie said this before. It's not that he has a big stiff type, it's that he has a big type, and there's just so happens to be a lot of stiff guys where the Chiefs are taking him. But Faulk, has he's got the ideal frame. He's going to be 20 years old during his first NFL game. He'll be 21 like a week later. But you're talking about like a 6'6", 285-pound defensive end that is probably the best run defender of any of the defensive ends in this class, who's shown some promise rushing inside and outside on a really bad defense that got to the offense has got to focus on him, right? So you're hoping that there's more pass rush upside there. So if he tests crazy and he goes and tests the way some people think he's going to, there's no reason not to consider him in super high up there, because that would be an indicator and a strong indicator that there's pass rush upside to this guy. So I think that's where he kind of fits in. I'd be happy with Faulk at 9. I mean, even depending, there's varying levels of happy. I will be with like 12 names, which is what makes this draft so great with the Chiefs picking at 9.
Ken, I'm always a production kind of guy when it comes to drafting players. I know people love measurables and stuff, but I like looking at context, peripherals, production. That's how I kind of attack the draft when I'm looking at players. Only had 2 sacks last year. Why do you only have 2 sacks?
Because he had to play in a 3-down defense in a frog stance most of the time. And so like he did his job and he did his job admirably, but he wasn't really getting a ton of great chances to line up off of a half man off the edge at attack, off the tackle as much, because he's playing inside in a 4-point frog stance, trying to, do his job. I think, I do think that the pass rush is still a work in progress, but what happens if there's more reps there? There's a play that Faulk makes. It's an arm over from the inside. It looks like Chris Jones, and I'm not comparing him to Chris at all, but it just like you see flashes of pass rush ability. He just hasn't had a chance to put it all together. Give him a chance to play in a gap. I think he can go out and do some good stuff there.
The positional value conversation, I think, starts to really muddy the waters, especially once you get beyond those 3 defensive linemen. I think now you're starting to look at guys like Caleb Downs. Many say might be the best football player in the country, maybe the best defender in the country, but he plays safety. Jeremiah Love, maybe the most explosive playmaker in the country, maybe for multiple years even. And yet he plays running back. And with the wide receivers, I don't know if there's like a guy that jumps out above them, or if they all just have different skill sets and it's kind of a, pick your flavor here. So I wonder, once you get beyond those 3 defensive linemen, how do we start sorting through these guys? Maybe just kind of walk us through each of the non-defensive linemen that you think the Chiefs should be considering here, and that I guess we need to be considering as fans as, potential options here at pick number 9.
So I gave you Ruben Bain as like my number 1.
Yeah.
My number 2 is, I think, who the best football player in this draft is. It's Jeremiah Love. I am so impressed with Jeremiah Love. So we were down in the Shrine Bowl and we're catching BJ up on all these top 10 guys, right? And we went through a speed watch with all. We just watched a bunch of these guys back to back to back to back to back to back. So we watched all of the edge rushers, the receivers, the running back, all of these guys. And you watch all of those guys' tapes just consecutively. I don't know how you can't walk away thinking Jeremiah Love's not the best player in this class. He is so good. He has everything you want. And you'll see him, it's like he might get tricked up a little bit, at the line of scrimmage, and he's somehow falling forward to find 6 yards. Like even when he's, tripping, he's still finding a way to get big positive yards that Kareem Hunt could only dream of. He's got everything you want. He's explosive, he's fast, he's big, incredible vision, great burst, can catch the ball. He's got a beautiful one-handed catch. He's got everything you want. He's a big play waiting to happen. And I know this is kind of want to throw positional value out the window as much as I love Jeremiah Love. I think he might be like Bain barely, but like I don't think you're going to find very many better players than Love. I think he's not too far removed from Bijan Robinson. So imagine throwing Bijan Robinson in Kansas City.
A quick follow-up on that, because I think a big part of this is we know the Chiefs need to address the running back position, and their options seem to be getting more and more limited when you're looking across free agency and the draft. Is there any running back who you think is even possible at pick 40? Or is this kind of a love at pick 9, or you're looking at third round, or, at that point you're talking about one of the bigger names at free agents? Because you're just limiting the number of names that you can get here to really make a difference that we all want to see at the running back position, just because there aren't many out there. So is there any running back that you think might be worthy of pick 40?
No, but I think somewhere between 40 and 74, where the Chiefs' next pick is, there probably is a couple that go off the board. Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame. It might be 1-2 for Notre Dame running backs to start. And the other one, there's probably 2 more. There's Jonah Coleman from Washington, who's very good. I'll get there, Dirk. Here he comes.
The Heisman winner, the real Heisman winner.
If you only counted the votes in Omaha, Nebraska. Emmett Johnson. The Nebraska running back. I think all those guys are probably worth a third round pick somewhere. I think there's going to be better players on the board for the Chiefs to pick 40 than those running backs.
Okay.
But I think it's love or bust. I'm curious, if the Chiefs do go big, make a big swing at running back, I think that means that Jeremiah Love isn't going to be on the board at 9 when they pick. I don't think he's going to be there, if I'm being honest with you. I think the tape's just too good when it's all said and done. Yeah.
It's the more I think about him as, like the potential plan, the less confidence I have in it, because it's like, if you largely bypass running back in free agency, you just try to sign somebody that you're like, if we had to play a game today, but then you don't get Love. Like, it's just such a risky proposition to me that I don't know that they can try to enter this draft with the plan of, we're going to go get this guy, unless they're prepared to trade up to number 2. Like, because I just, and that's not to say that Jeremiah Love is going to go second. I think it's just, you can't guarantee what any other team is going to do. And if you're banking your entire offseason's worth of changes on the personnel at running back, and you want it to be Jeremiah Love, but you're picking 9th, I just it's more about fans, I think, and the mentality that we might have of like, well, just go get Jeremiah Love. It's not going to be that simple. And I think a lot of people, if the only move that they make in free agency is, bringing back Pacheco or something, and you're sitting there coming up to the draft, and that's what the running game looks like, people are going to be really nervous. They're all going to be, pointing at Jeremiah Love, but man, like,
nervous is one way to put it, I would say.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Kent likes Love, loves Love. Mm-hmm. In fact,
love.
I thought as I don't know if it's like out there, but as a Buckeye fan, I figured it was Downs, man. I figured it was Downs.
Wait, who's a Buckeyes? Kent's a Buckeyes fan?
My grandpa took classes from Woody Hayes.
No excuse.
It's like it's an inheritance thing.
It's an inheritance thing. It's not
against him.
I'm more Jayhawk than I am Buckeye, but I still got some Buckeye in me for sure.
Oh yeah, Caleb Downs. I think a lot of people have Caleb Downs as their best player in the draft. I know I've seen Maddie say he would not like picking him at 9. Are you on board with that, or where are you at on Caleb Downs?
Oh, I'd be on board at 9. I'm less out on Downs at 9. And I will say, like, for Maddie, it's like, hey, look, Kyle Hamilton's the best safety in football, and it doesn't matter. So it's like, does that matter? Does having the best safety in football matter all that much? Like, I think that's really the argument, because like, it's not an indictment on Downs, because Downs is an incredible safety, and like, there's a chance he's the best safety in football in 2 years. He does everything. And as far as leadership and instincts, athleticism, playing deep, playing in the box, playing in the slot, man coverage, zone coverage, everything you want, he's got it. I'm more in on the idea of that, because I think he's a blue chip, and I think the defense missed a Justin Reed type safety. So getting someone getting one, athleticism in the back 7 again, getting versatility in the back seven and then getting a true playmaker like that, like that's not going to be a hard sell for me on draft weekend. So I'm more in on Caleb Downs. I do think the roster needs to be in a good spot to take Downs or Love, honestly. And I really do think the Chiefs will have a ready to roll the ball out week one roster before the draft. And then the way they can take the best player available, which actually makes me, if I guess, I think they'll just take the best player available. And it's a chance that Downs or Love are the guy. You know, there is still chances just because of positional value that the Chiefs can just go take the best football player. And I think Downs and Love are two of the three best pure football players, maybe the top two best football players in this draft.
So Breece Hall and Jeremiah Love locked in stone, according to Kent Swanson.
I don't know. I go back and forth on how much they're going to spend. Like if you told me that they just decided they wanted to go Algier and Rashad White, and then that you can draft Jeremiah Love over those guys, you know, like. Or you can roll with those and feel better about the room because it's going to be better than what they had last year. So, yeah.
That's a lot of investment. All right, let's receivers here. There seems to be three names that are kind of thrown around at 9. How would you rank the three? And that is Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon.
Mekhi Lemon.
A lot of Mekhi Lemon love lately is what I'm seeing.
And you should be. It's really tough because like they all have warts, but in Mekhi Lemons is that he's short, even though he's incredibly productive against man and zone. He's an exceptional route runner. He's better than he should be playing at the catch point. And the guy 5'9", 5'10" should be inside, outside. Like maybe not a 4-4 guy, but maybe a 4-4-8 guy. I mean, there's really not a ton of warts to Mekhi Lemon. I think there's Jackson Smith and Jigba in him. There's a lot of Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I would not hate having Mahomes getting a chance to throw to a guy that's not afraid to play in the middle of the field like that, and is competitive and is precise and doesn't drop the ball. That would be okay with me. So I think I go Lemon. Then I go Carnell Tate. Different skill set entirely. Big outside receiver, pure outside receiver. Wins down the field, has ability to run past defenders in the second level, third level of the defense. Another good route runner, but a big body guy that you're probably making more of your X-type player. Love him, would be excited about them. Jordan Tyson is the smoothest, prettiest route runner. Like some of his routes are just insane. You can't believe that he's able to run them the way he does, and maybe his body can't handle the way he runs some of those routes as good as they are because he's got major injury concerns. He's had lower extremity injuries. He's had injuries up and down his body. He's missed a lot of time because of that. And then, you know, for him, it's like exceptional route runner, makes some incredible catches, but, you know, injuries, maybe a few drops here or there, and not as good after the catch as those other two guys are. But still, like all three of them, I think I'd be excited about all of them. But I think that's how I'd stack them right now. But Tate and Lemon are going to be going back and forth with me, I think, for the next 3 months.
I think there's a couple of buzzwords that, you know, Chiefs fans want to see: a man beater, and they want to see someone who's going to win in the intermediate. A lot of talk about how the Chiefs are going, you know, attacking deep and attacking shallow, but nothing in the intermediate. Any of these guys do anything as far as those two terms? Anyone jump out or not jump out?
I think Lemon is the one. And that's why I think you're getting a lot of buzz. And I've been slowly coming around on Lemon a little bit more than I think like Maddie's been on him for a while. I think I've been slowly coming around on him a little bit more, but it is true. Like if you're wanting someone in the middle of the field, you want someone to run the dig route that this team, you know, used to have running so frequently in this offense, and Travis Kelce in the middle of the field doesn't really have the change of direction ability or, you know, the ability to even push the ball down into the intermediate as much. Like go get somebody like Lemon who can do that in spades. So like, yeah, I think Lemon's the guy for that particular fit, which is like, I think biasly I am rating those guys. Like I think maybe off of pure grade, I'd be curious where they all eventually stack, but like pure fit for Kansas City, Lemon makes the most sense.
Is there a huge gap between those three and guys that the Chiefs might be looking at 40? whether it's Surratt or Bell or some of these other receivers that seem like they're, potential fits. I don't know if there's reason to say I don't need to take a receiver at 9 because these guys aren't like that special. You said they all have warts, so I'm curious, the difference, I guess, between those guys and the ones that are going to be available when you're picking in the second round. Especially, my brain always goes to those receivers in the early part of the second round. You want to be the team that gets to take T. Higgins because everybody overthought it or whatever.
There's a lot of different flavors, like in day 2 of the draft, and they all come with even more warts. And I like all of those guys that we just described are all worth the 9th pick. And even in a stronger draft, they are clear cut first round selections, in my opinion. So it's not like these are chopped liver or anything like that. I think they're completely warranting the selection that they would. They're completely warranting top 10 in this draft. All these other receivers, it's very defined skill sets. And I don't know how many of them I love in Kansas City. There's only a few that I would truly love in Kansas City. You kind of have to try to figure some things out. I think the top 3 are better, but like Zachariah Branch is like a gadget guy. Chris Bell is a giant, yak monster that is coming off an ACL injury. Chris Brazzell is a leggy, vertical receiver that has a little bit of route running ability, but like is maybe just a vertical guy. Elijah Surratt,
Waffle House, my man.
Dirk might be faster than him though.
It's fine. He's always open.
Yeah. Jeremy Bernard, he's a smooth after the catch type. Omar Cooper, another after the catch type. It just kind of depends on like your flavor too. So like I don't think the round 1, round 2 conversation at receivers is much worth talking about as much as it is just like, I don't think it should play into the strategy. I think they should just take their best player regardless.
If Arll Reese is the best player on the board for them, do they draft him? For those of you at home that don't know Arll Reese, Kent, how would you describe him? Like he's a linebacker that they think is going to be a pass rusher, right?
He's the closest thing to Abdul Carter that is in this draft from last year. He's one of those off-ball linebackers that made the transition to rush the passer a little bit more, and Ohio State figured out that he rushes it pretty well. Dominant early season as a pass rusher, and then kind of tapered off a little bit towards the end and wasn't quite as productive as a pass rusher, but a giant off-ball linebacker that can kick down and rush the passer. I don't know how the Chiefs use him, and would he play defensive end here, or I don't think he would. Yeah. And so, is he a luxury Sam linebacker? Or are they completely changing the scheme to make more sense for him? Like, and maybe they just love the talent so much that they cater to it. I don't know, and maybe that is the case. But I think those are the questions they're going to have to ask themselves, and that makes me wonder if he's like an ideal fit for them.
Yeah, I don't really get the Arll Reese thing. It just seems like I don't. It feels like I know he's different, but like Deion Jordan, or it's just like he's this freak athlete, but it's just like I don't know where he fits on the defense, or like Isaiah Simmons kind of guy where it's just like he can do all these things, but like what is he great at? Where am I putting him out here? So unless you get like someone like a creative defense like the Ravens kind of thing with like Adalius Thomas is kind of what pops in my mind, or he's just like a guy who takes the leap like Micah Parsons where he kind of came out of nowhere and just became what he is. Is that the idea that he turns into one of those freaks?
Well, I think there's more. I think there's more to him already as a rusher still. Like I know, like I just got I'm not trying to talk out of both sides of my mouth. He's still a good rusher. I just think that the people that there was a time that Arll Reese was the number 1 player in this class. I don't know if he's quite there for me anymore. Maybe he's the 8th or the 9th best player in this class now. Still plenty of rushing upside, but he's 6'4", 245. You're wanting to put him in a 3-down team that kind of lets their backers drop in coverage. A base 3-4 team is probably a better fit for him. Someone that's going to be a little bit more multiple and not quite as rigid with what they do defensively. That would be the concern for me. Like I'm not calling him Josh Uche. That's not what I'm saying. But like there was reasons Uche couldn't get on the field, And are the Chiefs going to let him be the best version of himself, which is a 3-down player that can rush on rushing downs and play off ball, early downs? Like, are the Chiefs the team that can do that? I don't know.
Kent, we got to take a break, and we asked you for 15 and you gave us 30. So we certainly appreciate all your time. Who's the best player we didn't talk about yet?
Best
Peter Woods.
Not Peter Woods.
Oh, you don't like Peter Woods?
There's a lot of Peter Woods hate out there in the world.
I don't love Peter Woods as much as other people do. I watched a lot of them this weekend. I still don't see it. Fernando Mendoza is worth every bit of that first pick.
Should we trade Mahomes for it?
No. No, but
come on, Kent. We need some buzz. Drop the bomb. Trade Mahomes.
Springer's gonna make this the thumbnail if we're not careful.
Trade him to the Raiders.
Why Kent Swanson thinks that the Chiefs should trade Mahomes for Mendoza.
What could go wrong if we send him to the Raiders? I don't see what could go wrong.
The other little just nugget. Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State. He's a pure off ball linebacker, and he is exceptionally good. There's a little Fred Warner to him, and so linebacker. We have a sign on the lab. It says only linebacker that matters is Fred Warner, but he's really making us question that right now.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Kent.
I love you both so much, and I'm always here to be your trusted dork.
Looking forward to the draft guide, Kent. I won't open it until draft day, but I look at it a lot on draft weekend.
That's good to know.
All right, buddy. Grateful to you. See you, man.
Thanks, Kent.
Yep. Bye.
I'm Brett Goodwin, one of the owners of The Learning Tree. The Learning Tree is a neighborhood toy store in Prairie Village, Kansas. This has been here in this location since 2000s, and my husband Alan and I purchased the store in 2023. Alan and I grew up in families where we've always wanted to have a business together. Alan grew up, for instance, his parents had a jewelry store. I worked in a local toy store here in Prairie Village when I was growing up. When this opportunity happened in 2023, we knew right away we wanted to contact them and pursue the store. We wouldn't have been able to get the store without the team at Emprise Bank. From the day we contacted them, they knew what we needed to do, which was very helpful. I would absolutely recommend the team at Emprise Bank to anyone looking to secure a business. We worked with Emprise from day one. They were extremely helpful. They were always great resources. We talk to them frequently. They know the area. They're very friendly. We know who we're going to talk with, and they know what we need to do. We hope we'll see you at the Learning Tree.
What is happening, good people? It is Benny Heiss, KCSN betting analyst. And guess what? We got the Super Bowl coming around just in the nick of time. Cannot wait. And listen, it's the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60 deserves a sportsbook that is built for the moment. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you right in the center of the biggest game of the year. Listen, we've seen some wild Super Bowls, right? And we've also seen that anything can happen during the Super Bowl. And the good news is that DraftKings will have your back with early exit. If a player goes down in the first half, you still get paid in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. It's that easy. Taking a look at the early line here, right now we're seeing the Seahawks at -4.5 at -115 odds over at DraftKings Sportsbook, which means the Patriots +4.5 as underdogs at +190 on the money line with a total of 46.5. Whether you're looking at the actual game itself, the different possibilities for Super Bowl MVP, or you're just looking to get in on some of these wild and wacky props that are available only during the Super Bowl, you can get those over at DraftKings. And remember, if you're new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code KCSN. That's code KCSN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, remember to call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
All right. Well, his Dirkness.
I'm I haven't watched like anything about Peter Woods, so that one kind of caught me by surprise. Did you see the stat going around that the remaining 4 teams in the conference championship games were top 4 in the NFL at pressure from the defensive tackle position?
I did.
That stat really caught my eye this weekend. So I was just kind of connecting the dots. I know nothing about Peter Woods, the player, but he's really the only interior defensive lineman that's kind of in that range, I guess I would say. So I was he entered my radar, I would say, because of that stat that I saw. So that kind of caught my eye as the first thing that Kent doesn't like him, and maybe not a good pick at pick 9.
I mean, I can't tell exactly like what the issue is. I think that what I've probably read most often is they just don't think that he's made enough plays.
I mean, he only has 5 sacks in his career, is what I'm looking at right now. He had 2 this year and 3 the year before. So
he's almost
obviously that's not screaming out like interior pass rusher here.
He's almost like the best defensive tackle by default because of a lot of like presumed athleticism. I think he was a really, really highly rated recruit coming out of high school. And I believe as a true freshman, like did some really awesome stuff. And it's like hasn't done much since then, like has not gotten better, despite playing a lot of football. And you know, I think that we look at the pass rush, and usually the first thought is the defensive ends. It's the edge players. You know, you got to go and get that number 1 pass rusher. But for, I mean, quite a few years now, our best pass rusher by far has been Chris Jones. And so I think that has even made Chiefs fans think even more so, well, we just have to figure out defensive end because we already have Chris Jones. And so we just haven't, both the team and people that follow or cover the team, defensive tackle for a long time has kind of been an afterthought, you know? And so I think that the Chiefs are probably in a position right now where that might be the spot on the roster that like needs the most work. And I say that knowing that because you're paying Chris Jones $40+ million on the cap this year, that like there's not a whole lot that you can do. And so they're really stuck in a tough spot there where I think that like they should be prioritizing defensive tackle and trying to remake that room and think about the future of that room in a way that they haven't for a very long time. But you look at the draft class and it's like there's a couple D tackles in the first round and there were like 6 that went last year, you know? And a few of the guys, once you get into like second and third round, you know, it's like, well, they're a nose tackle type. We'll see if they're any good. Like, and that's just kind of how every nose tackle is. It's a big dude. Can they stay big and not get hurt and stop the run at the NFL level? The question for every single one of them. And I don't know, man. I mean, whether it's Woods or I think the next guy down the line, I'm not sure of his name, but he played at Ohio State. Their nose tackle, McDonald. There you go. But I don't think that he'd be sniffing 9 either. So, anything that we heard from PFF, I'm looking at the thing that like, sorry, go ahead.
I'm looking at the PFF draft board, and they got Peter Woods at 9th, actually. Caleb Banks at 16th, Caden McDonald 21st, Kristen Miller at 30th, Lee Hunter, who I've seen a lot of mock drafts picking Lee Hunter in the
he's the Texas Tech kid, right?
That guy, yeah.
Anybody that plays at Texas Tech while Patrick Mahomes is our quarterback, people are going to try to connect the dots. Like it's
he did jump out in that playoff game that I watched too, so I think that's probably another factor. I just wonder if that's like an underrated aspect at this point is just pressure from the inside. I mean, the Eagles have wreaked havoc doing that for years, and then Milton Williams goes to the Patriots, and now he's wreaking havoc over there. Chris Jones has been, cog in this defense for a long time, and maybe it's just tougher to plan for like a dominant defensive tackle than it is an edge where you can just chip him, throw a running back his way, that kind of thing. I think it's kind of easier to give him attention than a defensive tackle. Maybe I don't know. Just spitball here.
Something that I find really interesting. We started to. There's like a groundswell of frustration around it this season. And I think it's the first time since Spags became our defensive coordinator that there were this many people talking about it. But I know for at least a couple years, we've been asking like, well, why aren't you using all the tools in the bag? Especially as it comes to like the games that they can play up front on the defensive line. You look at the teams that were in those conference championship games, and, one defense that really jumps out, I think to a lot of people, is the Rams, because of their ability to take all of these like spare parts and put them together. So many of the guys that have become great players for the Rams defense are undersized or oversized or a tweener in some type of way. And they've just decided, we think you're a good football player, and so we're going to go ahead and grab that one, and we'll take this one, and we will make it work. And their pass rush is largely built around Jared Verse, but they're doing these like twists and stunts and whatever other vernacular there is that I don't know, in terms of just not trying to go head up on your guy, but I'm going to start this way, and then, I'm going to go inside, and like, we're going to actually try to confuse the offensive linemen with the way that we attack them. And our defensive line, that's just not something that Spags has done. And so I wonder if, as part of this off season, when they know that like, we're not going to have the most talented defensive line in the league, this defensive line next year, I mean, we'll see what Veach is able to pull off. They might, on paper, be equally or less talented than they were last year, depending on what changes they can pull off, And so, like, they're in a position where they're probably going to have to generate some stuff. And hopefully it's not just the blitz. And so maybe it's guys like Faulk and Bain, who both will have the size or the physicality or whatever to be able to also rush on the inside, that make them better fits for this team than somebody like David Bailey. When you look at those guys, I was honestly very surprised that Kent said Bain would be the Chiefs' first pick.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like there's not like an easy answer for that question, which is why it's a good one. But I feel like Bain gets more love than anybody else from what I'm seeing right now. I mean, a lot of that is because he's playing in the playoffs, so it's we're actively watching him, and we're seeing new stuff, and he's putting good stuff out there. But yeah, I feel like Bain gets the most love. Speaking of those things, I keep seeing this move. You're talking about doing the moves where the defensive tackle like kind of blitzes right at the offensive tackle, and it's almost like a pick, and he like picks off the defensive end. But it's like the defensive tackle's the one that ends up getting free most of the time, I feel like. It's like he sprints into the offensive tackle and then just like kind of comes around the guard. It's like a weird thing, but I keep seeing that pass rush more and more, and it seems super effective. So I wonder if that's just like, I could see that sort of strategy blowing up next year, where I had never really noticed that type of move before. And then all of a sudden you get this year defensive tackles just putting offensive tackles on their ass out of nowhere. And it's like, what is he doing? Because he's not even taking a straight pass to the quarterback. He's running away from the quarterback and just kind of creating havoc. So I think that is really interesting. I think that'll just get more and more popular. With the edge rushers, one thought I had, George is so much of like an effort guy that like the perfect complement to him would be like the quick winner, like someone who could win off the first step. Obviously Kent said David Bailey that's kind of his thing, as he wins he has the quickest step in the draft, he said. So I almost wonder if he's like a better complement to Karlaftis, even though it doesn't seem like that's how Spags likes his defensive ends. He kind of likes them more similar to Bain, despite the arm length thing. The other thought on Bain is like, I wonder if they make the exception, like the Chiefs were never really investing in cornerback at rookies until Trent McDuffie became available. And then it was like, well, we're going to make our exception here with Trent McDuffie because we're in love with him. So I almost wonder if like Bain becomes that exception of they have this strict arm length policy that you have to be above. I wonder if he becomes the exception, like, well, we're going to make an exception here for him just because we love him so much.
I did see a mock draft from, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah today. I want to say that he only does like maybe 2 through the whole process. And a lot of people like think he's the most connected. And so starting with Bain at 9 for the Chiefs, I felt like I wasn't seeing Bain even make it to 9 pretty frequently lately. And so that was exciting to me that it was even a possibility. I mean, when I look at this group of guys, I think the story I'm telling myself is Faulk is going to go blow up the combine, and he's going to end up like going 2 to the Jets or 3 to the Cardinals because he's going to have all these measurables that everybody's going to fall in love because he's that freak. Like, he is that dude that even though the production isn't there, they're going to take him anyways because of the ceiling and how young he is and everything. And so that leaves Bain and Bailey for any other team that's looking at a pass rusher. And because they're saying, I guess we'll see at the combine, next month in Indy. But if Bain's arms are literally like as long as Trent McDuffie's are,
as long as Dirk's big thing,
like, when we're talking about quite literally historic levels, that's why Kent mentions like there are teams that think he has to play defensive tackle, like that his arms are not going to be long enough to compete with some of these, 6'8" with 35, 36-inch long arm offensive tackles. He's just not going to be able to do it. I don't know if I buy that. Me personally, I don't know. Ruben Bain seems like the most like physical, like pure physical strength. And ultimately it shows up in the play style and everything of anybody in this draft. Like he's out to inflict harm and pain. And he has pain. And like he can he can and does. And my God, is he imposing, so physically imposing. I think he is somebody that even though he may not be the quick winner in terms of that like twitchiness, I think he's still going to end up finding ways to win quickly. And especially if they shift him, down inside on some of those third down pass rushes and stuff, he's just going to throw guards, throw them,
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that stat from PFF. He leads the nation in putting dudes on the ass.
Yeah,
according to PFF. So that one kind of blew me away. And what a name too, fucking Bane. Like that's fantastic. I mean, the possibilities are endless. You start pairing it up with Bane from Batman. Man, start selling those Chiefs masks. Putting the mask on, put a Chiefs logo on it. Oh, boy.
I mean, and it's like I first love the idea of all the short arms, and like I'll just call him Rex. I don't care. I think it's phenomenal.
You don't need a nickname, man. With a name like that, you do not need a nickname. Bane,
right?
Fucking Bane. Here comes the Bane.
A big part of me thought that Bailey, Faulk, because he's going to check all these boxes, feels like maybe he's the person that like Spags would choose. Like, well, if you want me to pick the guy that best fits the system, it's Faulk. I kind of thought that Bailey, as you mentioned with the speed element, that he might be the best. Drop this guy in and complement the other players that you have. And this is the skill set you're missing, right? Like this is the thing that defense is lacking. I until we have the measurements, and I don't know. Ultimately there's going to be so many things that you don't know, even once you can, look at Math Bomb and everything else. Like I just, every time I see a speed rusher, my brain instantly assumes this guy is small or that like they don't have power. And I'm not sure if that is necessarily Bailey. Like you saw him at least in 1 or 2 playoff games. And it sounded like, at least from the timeline, that David Bailey was making a pretty serious impact every time that he's, on the field rushing the quarterback. I think that his tackles for loss and his sack numbers jumped up quite a bit as a transfer from Stanford. But he appears to have just about everything that you want. He may be a little bit light, but I don't think this is like a 240 pounder, a guy that doesn't belong playing the edge in the NFL. So I don't know if the Chiefs would be willing to sacrifice a little bit of run defense in the interest of putting some speed on the field. But that's something that we've thrown out there as a possibility that, like, when you lose this many games, you got to start thinking about changing your ways. And maybe Veach is going to say, like, listen, Spags, I know you want this big refrigerator style defensive end that doesn't have any athleticism, but like, this dude was the best pass rusher in college football last year, and I'm going to put him on the defense, and you're just going to have to play him, man. Figure it out.
Yeah, looking at production here, he led the country in sacks, led the Big 12 in tackles for loss. He had 14 and a half sacks. I love seeing that. I have my notes here from that playoff game. It was over 48 hours ago, so I have no memory of it whatsoever anymore. But in my notes, freak athlete. He looked very good dropping in coverage. And he do remember this? He just skied to bat a ball down in coverage. He was kind of like almost like spying. He was kind of just hanging out on the line, but just he seems like a freak athlete. So I'm interested in him. I think I'm out on Faulk. I can't get past the production. If you're just telling me you're drafting a defensive end who had 2 sacks last year at pick 9, it just does not pass the smell test. I can't get behind it. So it just seems like I'm sure there's a high upside there. Like if he hits, he could huge boomer bust, but like the Chiefs cannot afford to whiff on this pick. Like you're getting one top 10 pick in a 12-year range here. I don't feel like they can afford to whiff on a guy.
That's a really interesting aspect of this. The Chiefs are, I think when we first had the conversation about the way that the coaching staff needed to change, that out of frustration, I may have been a bit harsh. But like the Chiefs have shown that they're looking for an upgrade at some of these position coach spots, primarily in terms of we need somebody that adds something to the room instead of we're going to give a guy a shot here and see if they can be an NFL caliber coach. And I think that that's where this team also needs to be with some of these draft picks. Like, I don't think they can do a whole lot of projection with some of these guys. Like, they need somebody that can step on the field and be a contributor for them. When you're picking at 9, it basically just needs to be a set it and forget it starter. And ultimately, I think that if they do pick someone at 40, or potentially earlier than that, I think that's another guy that you're going to have immediate expectations for. And so I think that they need to be maybe, taking into account, you're talking about a guy that only had 2 sacks last year. Is that somebody that you can count on to come in and be like the huge change on your defensive line that makes everybody better? I'm not sure that it is.
It sounds like Tyson Jackson to me.
Right. But if the guy that you draft, I mean, honestly, and I'd have to go back and look, but like the guy that I wanted to compare Faulk to was like Travon Walker, right? Like he played at Georgia. Okay. He played at Georgia. And it's like, I think then the Jags take him over Hutchinson, and Hutchinson had all the production, but he didn't have all the crazy athletic numbers. And the Jags take Walker, and a couple picks later, Detroit gets who has been maybe the best pass rusher in the league, not named Myles Garrett since he was drafted. I mean, Hutch has been phenomenal. Even with the injury, he's been incredible.
Which that's kind of one that doesn't pass the smell test. When that happens, I'm just like, dude, Aiden Hutchinson was the best pass rusher all season long. Like he was by far the best. And now you guys have talked yourself out of it. And that one always stood out to me. Like that's a huge mistake. And I think Travon Walker's ended up being pretty good, solid, but like not Aiden Hutchinson, or it's just like, here's the sure thing. Like, don't overthink this. Take the sure thing.
Well, and if you have a guy like Hutch that gets to play across from, I mean, they've clearly hit on the other Josh Hines Allen. Instead of that being Walker, it's Hutchinson. Like, my God, that would be terrifying. I will say that's probably where I think a lot of Chiefs fans are going to end up falling in between now and when the draft actually takes place. We're going to be hoping that teams overthink it with someone like Ruben Bain, like Bain specifically, because like we're just really hoping that the arm length scares all these teams off and they say, yeah, he's really good, but like once you get to step up in competition, he comes to the NFL, it's not going to work. And the Chiefs just let him fall into their lap and say, this is exactly the guy that we need.
The way I always look at it is I want to, take a Kodak of the draft board right now before all the overthinking starts and the draft board starts changing in 2 months from now and we see it look completely different. I want the guys who are ranked the highest now, not the guys who start shooting up boards in the next months. That's how I look at the draft in general. I thought you made a really good point about Jeremiah Love that I don't know if I'd really thought about too much yet, but let's talk about it after this break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
So, I mean, the Jeremiah Love thing, if he is your plan, you have to be sure that he's going to be available at 9. And so free agency is going to be long gone by then. Like, who knows how many of these running backs are already signed by that point. So if he is your plan and then all of a sudden, like, all these guys are gone and then you're fucked and you're in the same position without this running back that we're all hoping everybody kind of agrees here that, the #1 thing we need to overhaul is the running back position. I'm sure that the Chiefs have said as much, talking about how bad the running game has been this year, when they hardly speak out against what they've been, produced or whatever. So obviously they know they need to do it, but it does make it really difficult if Love is your plan to guarantee that he's there and not have like a backup plan going in. And then if you have a backup plan, you're kind of where you were last year, where you're spending on free agents and then drafting guys that are going to play over them. And the Chiefs aren't in a position where they can afford to do that again. Like, we can't be paying 2 offensive tackle, or can't take one in the first round and be paying another offensive tackle to be a backup. We just don't have enough talent on the team right now to have that kind of luxury.
And we talked last year, or I guess at the beginning of the season, about how when you're a team that is paying the quarterback the amount that the Chiefs are, even after you make all the adjustments to the contract, even after you try to reduce it down, when you're paying your quarterback non-rookie salary, basically, it makes it so that like you can't really have bad money on your roster. You can't be, paying A+ money to a B- player. Or, in the instance of the Chiefs this year, have a guy that for all intents and purposes, if everything goes according to plan, you have a $15 million player sitting on your bench in Jalen Moore. Like, that's not how things should go, right?
Or if you do, you need like a whole bunch of talent on rookie contracts, and the Chiefs just don't have that right now.
And so if you'd say, maybe it's not Breece Hall, but you still, decide that you're going to try to grab someone from the top of the market. It's not Breece Hall, it's not Ken Walker, but you get ATN or something, and you're paying him $9 million a year. I don't know that you can turn around and take Love if he's there. Like, yeah, you'd be excited, but like for the next few years, you're going to guaranteed money pay $15-20 million to the running back position. Like, it defeats the purpose of investing in running back, because when you make one investment, it doesn't cost that much. But if you make 2 top of the market investments at one position, I don't know how you do it, man. I think that like you have to run the risk of saying something like, all right, this offseason, we're going to sign Javonte Williams. We're going to give him 1 year for $5 million. And if Jeremiah Love is there, like, that is something that we can stomach, but we have to take somebody that like we don't feel great about and say, this is what we would do, if Jeremiah Love is not available at 9. And I don't know if that's how they want to operate. I think that there are a couple guys, really, if they wanted to like just fully hedge and say, this is someone we can start and feel good about, but we're still going into the draft hoping that Jeremiah Love might fall to us at 9. The guy at the top of that list for me is Rachaad White, because he is a less effective runner than he is in the passing game, but he's so adept both as a pass blocker and as a receiver that like he was just like guaranteed that role despite having a lot of talent in that Bucs running back room. And he's a guy that I feel like can come in and play all three downs for you and is probably like at the same level of talent, maybe a little bit better than a guy like Damian Williams. So like, you need to supplement it a little bit, but like he can be, your running back one and get the vast majority of your touches and you'd be okay. But it's not going to be, if that was like, we went into the offseason, we said Rachaad White is the crown jewel of our running back, resurgence or whatever. People aren't going to believe you, right? Like it's good enough, but it's not, I think, what we're looking for.
No, I mean, we've all identified that problem, and it's just like, what's the solution? If you're going into this next season, Rachaad White and some rookie from the 4th round, that's not good. That's not the solution that we're looking for. But it's not kind of tight because there just aren't that many options. And I think I didn't realize Kenneth Walker at the Seahawks have like the 4th most cap room in the NFL. So I don't think he's getting, especially after the Charbonnet injury. I think it's on the board that Breece Hall gets franchised. Like, you're just running out of names really fast. I think a name that I brought up a couple times, DeAndre Swift, who I think will be a cap casualty from the Bears. I think he's very much on the board, might kind of fill that role if we'll sign him. And then if Jeremiah Love comes in, we'll have a 1-2 punch, or, DeAndre Swift and someone else.
So I like the way that you've been circling Swift. I don't know how good Monongai is. I don't know if he's good enough that they say we can cut Swift. Because if you cut Swift, you're in the market that the Chiefs are in, right? Like then you're looking for a solution in the same pool of players that the Chiefs are looking for. I mean, you have a leg up because of Monongai, but you got the same draft class and the same free agent class that you're picking from, and you just opened up a problem that a bunch of other teams are probably trying to solve themselves, right? So I don't know. I mean, there's going to be a huge focal point on the run game, and ultimately for the Chiefs, because of the way that like last year's draft worked out, and you didn't end up, getting somebody until Brashard Smith. You go into this off season and it's a huge priority, man. It's for a lot of people, fix the run game is number one. And I think that they might be in a position that's kind of where I landed last week. Like, if you want to make the best skill player on your offensive running back, it's basically your plan is we're going to sign Breece Hall. Like, we are going to be that team that does it. And I am, for the record, fully on board with that. And if that move gets announced early on in free agency, I'll be absolutely thrilled. Can't wait to see what it looks like. I don't think I'd have a single complaint about it, really. I don't even care what the money looks like. I would just be like, yes, that's somebody that you wanted, and you ended up not giving up a draft pick for him, and now you've paid him, and he's going to basically be a hometown player. Grew up in Wichita, wore red and yellow in college. Like, it's like, bring him home, and he's only 24 years old. There's a lot about Breece Hall that just feels like hand in glove to me.
I wonder where they're at on ETN, because I feel like ETN will get out of there. I feel like they're going to hand the things over to Tootin. So I wonder if ETN kind of becomes your scat back, highest paid guy, and then kind of get like, I don't know, might pair well with Emmett Johnson maybe, or someone, maybe Swift. That might be too many. Two free agents like that might be too much. I'm
curious, how would you feel if the Chiefs stayed at 9? And I'm not trying to put you in a position where it's like there's a whole bunch of dudes that you want to like twist the knife here. But if the Chiefs took a guy that they want to play at right tackle at 9 and say like he and Josh Simmons are going to be the two people that protect Mahomes until Mahomes retires, how are you feeling about that?
Not great. I mean, I get it.
It's securing like the one position on your line that's not secure right now, because most people assume that you are cutting Jawan Taylor. I don't know how anyone, including the Chiefs, feels about Jalen Moore actually playing right tackle. And then when we look at the backups, I mean, I don't know if Godric is like a real option at right tackle. He seemed to acquit himself okay when he played. We all liked Pole. I don't know how he would look at right tackle either. They have all these options, but maybe you see a guy like Francis Mauioga, who has been considered like the best right tackle in college football for like 3 years. Like he's just a ready-made, I am a right tackle, and he's probably going to play 15 years at right tackle in the NFL and be among the best players at his position. He feels like truly set it and forget it. And I think that's something that's really appealing to them. I don't know though.
I do think it's on the board. It's as unsexy as it gets with all of the holes that the Chiefs have, and what should be a fix already on the roster. But tackle is a position where that's one of the money positions where you're looking to pick a guy at 9 that you're not usually getting in the 20s unless you get lucky with someone like Simmons. So if you can just say you have your both tackles in place for the next 10 years until Mahomes retires, essentially, if you want. I mean, I get it, but the unsexiness it would be tough to stomach when you're looking to make a splash. I mean, obviously free agency is going to happen before this, so we'll see how they fill their holes, but
it would once again largely guarantee that you're overpaying a backup by a lot of money. But having Jalen Moore be your swing tackle for one more year is not the worst thing in the world. I think Jalen Moore for a year and then kind of trying to groom either Pole or Godric, because I thought they showed some promise. I don't think that's a bad strategy. And there's kind of always, we always have like one black sheep on the Chiefs offensive line, and it's like Andy can really handle having one black sheep. If it gets to be too many, obviously it becomes a big problem. Right. Well, I mean, the perfect world is that you just get to like put Esapole at right tackle and be like, hell yeah. And now this dude that came out of nowhere, undrafted player, is your right tackle for the next 10 years. Like that's what you really want.
I would get it, but I mean,
these pass catchers
sightings in free agency before getting to
that. When you look at these receivers, I've watched a little bit of each of them. Lemon, Tate, and Tyson. We didn't talk with Kent about Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. I don't think that
I keep seeing him in like the 20s. So it would be more like a trade down possibility. But
I think early it was like, oh wow, this guy's really athletic, and Travis might retire, and so people were connecting the dots, and slowly he's just kind of gone back to like, he's just a tight end. He's not a generational athlete or anything like that. I think
I did want to ask, like, do you know how his blocking is regarding at all?
I don't know if the offensive linemen block at Oregon. It's just
because he's so good at blocking, or
it's a quarterback and 10 receivers, and they throw it 100 times a game.
Nice.
I'm very torn on these receivers because I don't look at like Kent said, Mekhi Lemon, right? I watched some Lemon. Sure. Seems like he could be good. Doesn't look like a number one to me. And so I don't know, like, is it a good strategy to have like 3 number 2s or like a number 2 and 2 number 3s? Like, I don't,
I would
just have a bunch of B receivers. Like, is that good? Like, cause I just think they need a guy. They need a guy. And I don't think any of those 3 receivers is that, but Kent said JSN.
I mean, I would say any day with 3 number 2s is a successful day, in my opinion. So,
okay. Well,
if you need more analysis than that,
speaking of regularity, I
go ahead to my OnlyFans. I'll keep going. Tyson, the things you said about Tyson scare me. I see almost no hype about Jordan Tyson. So that's kind of interesting. Tate worries me a little bit just because he was not the number 1 option there at Ohio State. I know they've had other guys that kind of weren't the number 1 option. I mean, JSN was the number 1 option for a year. I mean, he went absolute bananas. But that just kind of so much attention's going towards the other direction, towards the dude I can never remember his name. What's his name?
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith. Okay.
Honestly, Carnell Tate is like, there's so many receivers that have come out of Ohio State that have been, first, second round type of guys over the past, 10 years. And like, of all of them, to me, and I'm one person, Carnell Tate is like the most boring of all of them.
Boring. Are you almost like chasing something? Like you're chasing like, oh man, all these receivers that come out of Ohio State are so good, so we got to get the next one that's coming out of Ohio State. It almost feels like you kind of starting to chase a bit.
I mean, if you think about like all of these other Ohio State receivers and the excitement levels surrounding them. I mean, I talked so much about Chris Olave. My God, I was obsessed with Chris Olave. But, we're talking about, and it doesn't just have to be the guys like Garrett Wilson that get drafted, in the top 5. JSN was the first receiver off the board the year that we took Felix, and he went either 19th or 20th. And I mean, like, we just kept watching him fall. Like, my God, Brett, make a move. But can you imagine? I mean, there are plenty of years where a guy like Terry McLaurin ends up going in the 70s, and like I would take Terry over Carnell Tate. Now, maybe it's just because he's an unknown commodity, but like, I just don't know. I don't know what his, like, what's your specialty? What's the thing that you do better than people? What's the thing that makes you worth the 9th pick? Kent said that, all 3 of those guys, like, that they would be totally acceptable 9th overall picks, would not have a problem with it. And I guess I've heard a lot of people say that Tate is the best wide receiver in this class. And like, if that's the case, my read on it as an amateur, admittedly, is that it's probably not a great class of wide receivers. Carnell Tate doesn't seem special to me. And I could be completely wrong. Have been a couple times before.
Mekhi Lemon, 2 catches for 18 yards against Nebraska. I remember I kind of remember him getting hyped up before that game, and he was not really present at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what do you think about just the idea of taking a receiver? I mean, so much of it, something we haven't even discussed on the podcast, and something that really came and went is the Rashee Rice situation. But that has to factor into if you're going to go receiver at this position. I mean, if you're iffy about his future, and if something does come of that, his future would be very iffy, in my opinion. Then you're going to have to reinvest in receiver. I mean, because that takes one of your starting receivers and a guy you're relying on out the door for who knows how long. So that's something that we don't know about whatsoever, but hopefully the Chiefs have some sort of grasp on if this is going to become something or not. But, if he is still around, I mean, are you down with spending pick 9 on a position where you got Rashee Rice the year before and he's panned out? Xavier Worthy, another first round pick. Are you fine investing that much in the receiver?
I mean, I am still at, they need a number 1 option. I think I'm going to be stuck there, and it might not be the right approach. It's just kind of what I feel. We saw so much time with Tyreek and a Travis, and when Travis is not at that caliber anymore, I think that he needs a security blanket. I think that he needs a focal point. I don't think that it can just be spread the ball around. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, that was, kind of a Brady thing. It stands a couple years, but he seemed like he always had an Edelman, or he always had a Welker, or somebody that he could really go to. And even if that was only 800, 900 yards, I really worry about the reliability of Rashee Rice, both on and off the field. We really worry about the availability and reliability of Xavier Worthy, both on and off the field. And if you suddenly remove Rashee Rice from this offense and you haven't made any other additions, you're bad. And even with Rashee Rice, there are questions. And so, like, I think that they have got to make a big investment at the skill positions somewhere. And maybe that just has to start in free agency. Or do you want to talk about some guys before we fully wrap up.
Well, we haven't got to Caleb Downs yet. I would like to.
We should definitely
discuss him. But your number one weapon. So you're just kind of saying if they don't go out and get a Breece Hall, or maybe an ETN, they don't sign a receiver like that, then you're all in on picking a skill position at 9.
I mean, I'm not saying that is what I want them to do at 9. I don't want to be force fed. Honestly, any of those receivers, like Lemon, I guess I would be okay with of the 3. Maybe
Tyson and Tate do not idiotic.
I don't like any of them enough to pick them at 9.
I like that Mekhi Lemon is like kind of jumping out here. I do see like that he's he has this yards per route run stat versus man and zone kind of thing. But I mean, I kind of get the worry that he's just another small bodied receiver, kind of like what we already have. I guess Rasheed's a big guy, but we've just kind of overinvested in that size of receiver, kind of chasing Tyreek Hill, I guess is the worry. I don't know if we're necessarily doing that, but like we need like an actual receiver who's going to run like actual routes, because it just feels like our receivers don't run actual routes. It's like Rashee Rice can only work underneath and then get yak. He can beat linebackers if you get him matched up in zone, but like if we're just putting him in a one-on-one against a good cornerback, like do we expect him to win that? Not really. Xavier Worthy's kind of the straight line speed, but kind of devolved this year into not being like a prototypical receiver. So it's like, I feel like we just don't have that. So if you're saying Mekhi Lemon is going to come in and be that guy, then I'm interested, or any of these guys, I guess. But so I get the need for it. And I mean, you need something to bring the spark back to this offense. So if that's kind of the thing that they settle on that needs to do it, I'm kind of down.
I think you're just expecting a splash somewhere from Veach, and it's either a skill player or a pass rusher, and when I say splash, I'm imagining, maybe he's making some type of trade this offseason, or he's going out and putting a bunch of chips in on a free agent. And, that is a big investment in a Breece Hall, or, that's a trading McDuffie for Brian Thomas Jr. I'm thinking something big like that, because the offense needs a jolt, man. And I don't think that just losing those games and making some coaching changes and whatnot, like, I don't think that's it. There's still personnel here. And ultimately, I really think that they do need to reshape this offense in terms of who is like that trusted, skill position player that Pat can look to when the chips are down. I think that he needs that. I think he needs a security blanket. And so maybe it's not a number 1, but like he needs that guy. And there was a year where that was Jerick McKinnon as much as it was Travis Kelce, so like that responsibility can be divided up among some of these guys. But I don't have a whole lot of faith in Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy to like be those guys. Rashee, possibly. Worthy, I don't see that for him. And I don't know that we have another guy on the roster to consider as far as this is concerned.
And that's kind of the thing I think of kind of lost in the plot here is I think Mahomes not trusting different receivers was kind of really hurting the offense, because he would, wait an extra second or two because he didn't trust the receiver to necessarily do the right thing. I feel like that was like a big thing in 2023, kind of, there's lots of drops and that kind of stuff, but that kind of developed like this bad habit of Mahomes, like not trusting the offense, not trusting the receivers. And then things never really ran as smoothly from that point on. So I get what you're saying, kind of come up with a number 1 option, a guy he trusts, his guy kind of thing, where, McKinnon was kind of that guy. Like if he's scrambling, he's looking for McKinnon. Where's he at? Because he's going to work with him, and he knows they're kind of on the same page on how to create on these.
And Josh Allen had that with Ty Johnson, not this season, but last season. Where it's like, and I mean, that was Gainwell with Rodgers, where it's like, sometimes there is that like third down running back becomes this huge role in an offense. And so I think when we start chalking that up and just saying that like maybe this is Brashard Smith, that's a really big role for him to jump into. And so I don't think I feel too confident or safe saying that about him.
No, we already had that play last year. I mean, it's not like it can't happen, but there was a big play last year, a third down, I want to say in Denver, where he kind of ran like he really wanted him to settle at that first down, and he didn't. And, that's kind of exactly what we're talking about, not being on the same page. And he kept drifting up, and Mahomes was looking at him, waiting, like stop right there. You got the first down, and he didn't do it. And it was one of those last few drives where, we could have taken control in Denver and changes the whole course of the season. I mean, it's just one play like that where the trust isn't there, and it's not really fair to put that on Brashard Smith or anything, because he's a 7th round rookie. So I mean, that's a tough spot. If it's like, hey, you didn't come through with our season on the line, like no shit, he's a 7th round rookie. Just real quick on Jeremiah Love, do you have a stance on him? Because I was watching highlights of him today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% convinced that he is a game changer. I do think he'll be good, but to pick him at pick 9, I think he has to be great. And I don't know if I necessarily see it. I think that's my official stance on Love. So I will definitely be excited if it happens, just because, I was excited for Clyde. I mean, although I did like Clyde going into the draft, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I will definitely come around on it. But right now, just watching him, I wasn't like, let's go out and get that guy. It's a home run at pick 9. You have a strong pick yet?
Before the show today, this afternoon, I watched college highlights for Jeremiah Love, not just 2025, right? Because I'm like, just show me, what does this kid got? What makes him special? And the first 12 or 13 plays were all these long touchdown runs, like long 80 yards. There was a 98 yarder in there, and a couple of these, and a couple of these runs were like everybody's trying to converge on him, and he just runs, and no one gets to him. And I mean, maybe sometimes that's a level of competition or whatever. Jeremiah Love appeared to never get caught from behind, just fast enough that no one is tackling him. A few times looked like, holy shit, that guy is incredibly fast.
You think he's like Gibbs fast, though?
I don't know, but I also think that he has a lot more power and different stuff to his game that Gibbs does not. I mean, look, I have no idea what kind of impact he's going to have at the league. I do think that there is a level of simplicity to his game that makes it so that he's not just oh my God, he's not constantly juking guys out of their jock strap. He's got a cool spin move in that highlight tape, but it's not like he's constantly, making guys miss and stuff. Honestly, he really just breaks a lot of tackles. He turns 3 into 6, and he has this incredible explosive ability to take runs to the house. And so I think that you get both the consistent production and you get the possibility of explosive plays all in one player. I don't know how special he is, but he's got something the Chiefs don't. He's got quite a few things the Chiefs don't. I would be perfectly fine with Love at 9, but I think it's a really risky and scary way to approach the draft, hoping that you're getting that player, that you want to avoid the running back position all offseason in hopes of getting a guy of that caliber, and there's only one of them sitting there. I don't know. It's really scary. It's really scary to me.
All right, let's dive into Caleb Downs. I think it was weird to hear Kent talk about safeties, because I think safeties are starting to become more important in the NFL. And he kind of said, Kyle Hamilton, how important is he to the Ravens? But there was that Ravens-Steelers game. I assume the last game of the season, I got on my notes here, but Kyle Hamilton got hurt in that game, and the Steelers offense could do nothing up until he got hurt. And then Kyle Hamilton gets hurt, and the Steelers start going up and down the field. And it was just a night and day difference. Obviously, you're talking about the best safety in the league here, so it's not like, if he turns into the best safety in the league, yeah, you'll take it. But I do consider, if he's going to be, I think he's a very safe pick just because of how good and productive he's been and how everyone's in on him. So I like that. And I'm just down. I think this Seahawks safety, Eamon Wari, has come in and he's made a huge difference. I just look at safety as an underrated position, especially with all the flexibility things that teams are doing now, and with what Spags can do. You know how he used Honey Badger, put him in that nickel role. He kind of never knew what he was going to do. I look at that as a huge plus for this team, and so I am all the way in on Caleb Downs at pick 9.
I don't know, maybe 3-4 weeks ago on social said, like, I think this is the guy I'm probably going to be pounding the drum for in Caleb Downs, mostly because, as you said, like he can step into this role that Spags seems to have made essential in his defense. And I think that Caleb Downs is a very true leader and difference maker that's worthy of that 9th overall pick. Despite the fact that he plays safety, he's just going to do so many different things. He will be, as a rookie, one of those coaches on the field. Like, it might take him a few weeks to figure it out or whatever, but like, he's just going to be Eric Berry. You know, he has that type of magnetism and impact, like from just day one. And I think that any team that doesn't take him is because like they don't think that they can, you know, get all of that value out of him, or it's not as valuable to them as just like somebody that plays different position or whatever. Spags can squeeze every last drop out of that guy. And Dave Merritt can squeeze every last drop out of that guy. And I think the Chiefs would be lucky to take Caleb Downs at 9. It's really like him and Bain are I think my two. If I get to pick, those are the guys that I want. And beyond that, like, I will take David Bailey, I will take Faulk, I will take Love. I would be excited about any of those guys. After those 5, it starts to get sketchy for me. That's probably the guys that I'm looking at. Faulk, Bailey, Bain, Downs, and Love, I think, are my top 5 for. I
can't get behind Faulk. I'm enjoying the lemon buzz, so I'll throw him in there on my list, but I guess pretty similar to you. Any free agents that you feel like this dude just needs to be a Chief?
Well, you can go ahead. I want to highlight one other dude, later round pick, because he's
draft guy,
Keontae Scott.
Okay,
from Miami.
Yeah,
playing kind of a big nickel spot. I was very impressed with it. He was blitzing a lot. And he was just aggressive, physical in that spot. And so I just, I liked watching Keontae Scott on that defense, and he jumped out multiple times to me. So I've seen him in that second, maybe third round range. If he's third round, all the way in. But second round, I would even like that.
This is where safety, the Downs pick specifically gets a little interesting for me, because when I look at the safeties in this class, there's quite a few guys that I really, really like. The kid from Oregon, the Purdue transfer, Dylan Tieneman or something, Tieneman, whatever. Who cares?
Hi, Mike.
He has got some really interesting skills that he can bring to the table, and like just filled up the stat sheet as a true freshman at Purdue. I also really like this kid, Genesis Smith from Arizona. I like the way that he moves. He's around the ball a lot. I really think that there's a possibility that if you think back to the 2022 draft, or if you think back to, you want to go further back in Chiefs lore and go back to like the Herm Edwards days, I think it's a possibility that the Chiefs could just start 2 rookies at safety this year. I doubt that it'll happen because Chamari Connor exists. And maybe the only thing we know about safety is that he's going to play 100% of the snaps for this defense next year. Because that's just the way things seem to go. But I think that they could at the very least draft 2 safeties. There's just not a whole lot in free agency. There is a guy from Brian Cook's draft class that I really, really liked. He played at Maryland in college, but Nick Cross, who has played essentially every snap for the Colts defense over the past 2 seasons, including this year under Lou Anarumo, Nick Cross is a really interesting pending free agent. I have no idea if the Colts are going to let him go. He is unrestricted, but I say let him go just because he is a 24-year-old entering free agency. He was very young as a rookie, and he's been a pretty good player for them. So if you're looking for a safety that the Chiefs might turn to in free agency, Nick Cross is interesting to me. There are some defensive linemen in free agency that I think would be like rotational pieces the Chiefs could add that would bring something to the table. Two different guys, Kingsley Enagbare, somebody that fit the Spags mold coming out from South Carolina, but he's played in Green Bay the last few years and averaging about 50% of the snaps. I think he has 12 or 13 sacks over the last 3 seasons in total. Just somebody that can constantly kind of give you a little bit of production and be out there and eat up snaps and play good against the run. And a very similar player in Michael Clemens. He played at A&M, had that build coming out of college. Both Enagbare and Clemens look like guys that could instantly be rotational pieces for them that could step in and give you as much or more as you've gotten from guys like Dana and Amenahu over the last few years. So if you're just trying to think about rotational pieces that you're not going to have to throw a ton of money at, I think those guys are both really good fits. Have you been thinking about tight end at all? Like if Travis, I don't know if he comes back or if he does not come back, like, does it make a difference in terms of their plan? Are they drafting somebody? Are they bringing in a free agent? Like, do they need a number one? I have no idea what they're doing.
It's hard to imagine if he comes back and they got Noah Gray on the veteran contract that they'd go out and get somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it does matter. I just worry that these guys are going to get paid more than the Chiefs are going to want to sink into this position.
I really like Cade Otton. Like if they're looking for,
I can see him being a value.
You know, he's played like 80% or more of the snaps all 4 years that he's been in the NFL down there in Tampa. Like, just played a ton of football. I don't think he's caught fewer than, or I don't know if it may have been targets that I was looking at, but he either hasn't had fewer than 60 something catches or hasn't been targeted fewer than 60 something times each of the first 4 years that he's been in the league. You know, just a dude that's been a pro and been a starter and is like, I don't think he's going to cost you that much. I mean, I say that knowing that Noah Gray was his AAV like 6.5 or maybe upwards of $8 million. I thought it was like a 3-year 18 or 3-year for 24. I'm like, oh my God.
3 years, 18 million. Yeah.
Yeah. So $6 million a season. I mean, gosh, that means Cade Otton is probably 10 or more, based purely on production. So like, I mean, it's, you know, we asked that question a few weeks ago, like, does Mahomes need a tight end? Like, does he have to have a dude at that position? And I don't know. We know that answer, but there are some other tight ends in free agency that are interesting depending on how much or how little the Chiefs would potentially want to invest. I don't know. Have you looked at receivers? It really feels like I want Tyquan Thornton. There's not a whole lot else on the free agent market at receiver that I'm interested in.
I could see Tyquan being a fun, like, his value's higher here. Like, I think if he came back on a cheap deal, he could have a big deal. He could have a big year, and which would lead to a big deal. So I think that's definitely on the table.
I like Shaheed, but I think he just has shown so much in terms of the way that he can impact the game. Like, he has consistently been getting open no matter who's playing quarterback as a downfield threat in this league. And he makes these plays on special teams.
I think my problem is that, like, they need like a true receiver, and he just feels like another one of these guys, kind of similar to Worthy. Like, he's fast and he can do limited things, but like, we need like a legit receiver.
He feels like I understand why people would want to say, I don't know that he's like a full receiver, but I think that he is such a bona fide threat as a deep receiver that, like, it's not another Worthy, because this is a guy that's proven that he can do it consistently.
It also seems, I mean, back to the point of Seahawks having a lot of cap room and what he's doing and making the Super Bowl, they're probably more than likely bringing back a lot of their guys. So it seems like he could stay.
Yeah. it's hard to predict free agency when you're sitting here in January.
Yeah, because like one of the guys I had big on my list who I've really noticed this year was Tier Tart.
Yeah,
the D tackle on San Diego on the Chargers, and I just saw that he resigned just today. So he is off the board, but he was the guy I was like, man, this guy always keeps jumping out when I'm watching Chargers games. But yeah, he's already gone.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Calais Campbell, 39.
Yeah, I have no idea if the Chiefs want to make like a splash signing on that defensive line. The Jermaine Johnson is certainly interesting. There's
Florida State.
Do I have him wrong? Who's the dude that was at Miami, got traded to Philly, and
Jalen Phillips?
Jalen Phillips. There you go. Not Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine, wasn't he a Florida State edge rusher?
Yes. Yeah. That we took George over Jermaine Johnson.
Okay.
God, what's the kid's name again?
Jalen Phillips.
There it is, Jalen Phillips. Whew, twice in 1 minute.
For some reason, Spot Rack has him as an interior defensive lineman. He's definitely
he's listed in a weird position. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle because of that. If you're using Spot Track as your resource,
hopefully all the teams in the NFL are using Spot Rack and they'll just what? He wasn't on the list.
Yeah, I didn't even see him. Jalen Phillips, probably the best pass rusher going to be available.
How about Joseph Asai? Bring him back for his, he's kind of an honorary chief, anyways.
Yeah, thanks for that penalty in the playoffs. Really appreciated that one. Osai's a good player, I think. I mean, snap eater. I don't. You got to be really careful about trying to find rebuilding your team in free agency. There's a lot of fool's gold out there, and the Chiefs have usually been pretty selective. I do feel like each year, though, they end up, on like day one, they have some signing and it's like, wow, they just gave $20 million a year to somebody. And 1 year it's Juwan Taylor and you're like, wait, what? Another year it's they signed Sammy Watkins, instantly. And like, they just
Anthony Hitchens.
Yeah. I mean, right. But Veach always seems to, find one big deal that they're going to sign, even when you're not really expecting it. And sometimes at a position that you're not expecting.
I'm looking at adding some veterans. I feel like they need some hungry veterans that, really want to come in and win. I feel like they're kind of didn't have enough of that on last year's team. Like just sort of some guys who come in, I feel like Drew Tranquil, when he came in, he was just like all the way in on winning. Yeah. I'm just going to do whatever it took. And that attitude just kind of spreads throughout the team. Whereas, there's a lot of talk about how they're getting complacent in scheme and that kind of stuff. I feel like it's kind of complacent in players who have done a lot of winning. So it's just like, we've won before, or not even like in a bad way. Just like we've done this before. We'll snap out of this at any point, and just kind of had that attitude throughout the entire season. Like, I think Kelsey had a quote this week or something like, well, we were just kind of waiting to turn it on and it just never got turned on. And it's just like, you want a guy that's come in hungry enough. That's like, I'm going to fucking turn this on. I'm not going to wait for it to be turned on.
I think it's also just like during a 3-year stretch, and you can call it 4 now because we're looking at, we've now completed the season after the 3-peat run. During that time, they did so much of bringing guys back and keeping the culture in the building, and we know what works and we're going to stick with what works. And we're just going to keep chugging along, that like they even tried to recapture some of it like a couple different times this year. Like they brought back 2 different defensive tackles that they cut. They're just like going out of their way to bring guys back because, it didn't work this off season or whatever. I do think that they're in a position, or at least they have an opportunity, that it's like, these guys that are like position, whatever it is, like 35 through 53 or something on the roster, where in many ways, these guys are interchangeable. They're replacement level players, but like you find the right ones and they make the right plays for you, and those guys make a huge difference. I think that the Chiefs can part ways with a bunch of guys that have maybe been hanging around on the roster for a few years this offseason in order to get that hungry in. You know, I feel like one of the complaints about where the team is now is that they've lost all of that depth, that quality depth on the roster. And so I do think that they got to start looking outside and not just bringing guys back. Like, I know that they like familiarity in a lot of these rooms, but I saw that, like, I think Christensen and Cochran are both like free agents for the team. And I'm like, let them go, you know, just who cares? Like, bring in different linebackers or whatever. Like, I think that when you have guys that haven't necessarily, you know, like been these like giant impact players for you, and you just had a losing season the way that you did, it's as perfect time as any to say goodbye to a lot of those fringe guys. And you know, Dirk, I think after an hour and 38 minutes, it might be time for us to say goodbye. This has been another season of Amateur Hour, our 14th, if you can believe it.
Pressing days, man. Only one football game left.
Yeah.
I woke up bummed today. Championship Sunday is always bittersweet. Like, oh man, it's like the best single day of football of the year. And then, but it's like, but after this, there's only one game left. Yeah. And we got to watch the fucking Patriots. Man, I have not seen it. I started clicking on some negative Patriots things, and I have never seen so much negativity towards a team. People are not excited to watch the Patriots in the Super Bowl again. I don't know if you watched Simmons and Sal yet, but man, Sal couldn't even fake it. He was just so fucking annoyed that the Patriots went back, and to do it in that style, it was just like, the entire country is going to be cheering for the Seahawks. It kind of reminds me of 2018 when it was like the Patriots' time is done, and it was supposed to be the Chiefs, but they didn't quite get there, and the Patriots are going back, and it's like, dude, this is so old. This is so tired. Please win, Rams. And then we get the worst fucking Super Bowl ever with the Patriots winning again. And it was just like, everybody was so down. Reminds me of that.
Man, I, like probably most of the country, am going to be rooting very hard for Sam Darnold. Awesome story. Love it's coming, it's coming.
We're gonna see the Darnold, the 3 interception game we've all been waiting on. It's gonna happen, and Patriots are gonna fucking win 17-13 or something. I don't think so. I think they got it.
I think they got it. I'm pretty excited. It's gonna be fun. Well, guys, it's obviously a very pivotal off season in Kansas City. You know, you might see us on the breaking news team from time to time. You know, other podcasts might come calling. We're pretty popular around these parts. 14 years of work. I am
your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast.
I am Ryan Scott Hall. He is his Dirkness. Shout out to KC Sports Network, and particularly Nick Springer. Thank you so much for all the production work this year, my friend. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's all, folks. That's all she wrote. Go Chiefs, and you know, don't screw it up this offseason, Brett.
Yeah, let's go.